What is up, my dudes? It's your favorite YouTuber, Quackwake, back with another awesome chatting video. And today we're going to be talking about something I feel like no one's really talked about yet. It's basically the source of where I believe most of Deepwoken's problems and most of Deepwoken's controversies come from. And that is weekly updates. Yeah, we're going for the core. We're not gonna just complain about they added a new mantra that's broken, or they added a new legendary that has 5 criticals and is super unbalanced and broken. I've been using that weapon. It is not functional for both sides. When you're using it, like my character gets stuck in place occasionally, and then when I'm using it against someone else, like it's just not fair. It's not fair in any form. Anyways, we're gonna be going through the pros of weekly updates just so I can, just so we can see both sides, and then we're gonna go for the cons, and then we're going to talk about why I feel like they have to do weekly updates, and then we're going to talk about why every 2 weeks or more would be better, in my opinion, and just some other thoughts that I have. But let's start with the pros. So, number 1, weekly updates keep players engaged in the community lively. Having an update every single week, something for someone to look forward to so soon, is a great idea to keep people engaged. So, I give props for that. That is a great thing. I definitely am excited for Friday, even though I'm usually disappointed every Friday. And then number 2, it keeps the flow of content consistent. And that is a really good thing to be doing, because then the player base knows, okay, this game's being updated, it's keeping it relevant for people, and it's just, there's always something new for people to be excited for, I suppose, because, there are games that just never get updated, and that sucks. And it's good to have a schedule as well, not just be like, we are gonna update eventually in a year and a half or 2 years. That's not a great way to update a game. And also just you lose relevance when you do stuff like that. You lose and blah blah blah, and sure, you'll get big hype when it comes back, but it's not the best way to do it. And then those are honestly my 2 pros I could think of. And moving on from the pros, let's go to the cons, because I couldn't think of very many pros except those 2 things. So here's where I come in. Number 1, I think their schedule being every single Friday is way too much for them to handle. I heard at one point, which I don't know how it is now, but they do a meeting on Monday, and then they work on the game Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then they publish the update Friday. So that's 4 days, and they publish it on Friday. So it's almost 3 days. And, it could be 4.5, or I guess it probably balances out to 4, because they probably work a little bit on Monday, but that's not much time. And you're probably thinking, oh, maybe they start the update on Saturday. And it's no, they don't. That's their time off. They're not always working every single day. I'm assuming, at least. I mean, maybe they are. But the reason I bring that up is because that's not enough time. And that leads me into my second point, which is the lack of thought and care put into each update, the new mantras or the new legendary weapons, is caused by them not having enough time. They have 1 day to meet, and then they have to create something and balance it and test it within a few days. It just doesn't work. And my third point on cons is that big updates like Conquest take way longer because of this constant pressure to add content in just a few days. Frankly, I've dabbled in scripting, I've dabbled in coding. My more primary thing is modeling things. And yeah, I know Deepwoken's a quality game, and it's more advanced than probably what I can do and what I know can be done. I'm not saying I code, but I'm saying I know how things work to some extent. And I just feel like Conquest should not have taken this long if they didn't have so much pressure on themselves to add so much different content sources into the game so often. I feel like they could have pumped out Conquest in a few months. It's a game mode. I know they're adding other stuff like new oaths and new blah blah blahs, but even still, they have a big team. They should be able to bring Conquest out within not that much time of them coming up with the idea, but they have no time because they have to get these new weekly updates out. And that leads me to my next point, and this is why I believe they have been forced to do weekly updates. And this is the big core problem. The game has so little replayability with a lack of variety in gameplay, so the updates keep people engaged since there is something new to do, to see, or to grind. And that is, I think, prominently why they're adding new legendary weapons specifically, even though the game does not need any more, because it's the perfect thing to add to keep people engaged, because it's something that you can do you know, you make a new build for this new weapon. It's something new to see in the game, and they can create a new area or something based on it, and it's something new to grind. And those three things create a lot more gameplay, but is it what the game needs? Or do they need to fix that the game has no replayability? Which, that's a whole nother topic, and we can get into that another time, but I just feel like their progression and the lack of what you can really do in the game, besides create your build and then do chime, I think is a big problem, and that's why they are only adding legendaries and mantras, because that's the entire game. The entire game is chime, and everything's based off chime, because like, oh, you made a PvE build so that you can fight bosses. You know what you're gonna do with those legendary weapons? Put them on a PvP build and then do chime. It's the entire game is doing chime. It's building a build so that you can do chime, or so you can just do surface 1v1s. I don't know. Anyways, back onto the actual topic. This is why I believe every 2 weeks or more would be specifically better. I know I talked about it already, but this is like my main points. Big updates would come out sooner, such as Conquest. Each update would be bigger and more thought through, and on that same thing, each update would have more love and quality put into it, and the players wouldn't have to pay the price for unbalanced new weapons or broken mantras wiping their builds. And each content update would have more longevity than 3 days before something new needs to be added to satisfy the player base. Like, you grind for the new legendary weapon and you do all that fun stuff, and now you need a new one. When's the new legendary weapon getting added? Because you've already made a build in all the other ones. And another point is that the developers could take the pressure off and just work at a better pace, allowing them to be able to put better thought in how the updates will affect the game. And that's a big thing. They're just adding things just so they can add things. I don't think any of the new legendary weapons have been like oh my gosh, the game needs a new shadow rapier. It's so empty without it, you know? We need this new fire club weapon. It's just so necessary. And then, you know, you go fight this NPC that like is literally just the same AI. Don't even get me started on their humanoid AI. Their stinking AI is so bad. They just like randomly dodge backwards for like no reason, or like use mantras that don't make any sense at random times. Like, but you know, that's something else to get into. What I'm saying is that they would be able to put better thought into how these things would affect the game long term. Like Pyre Keeper, when it was added, like, do you realize what you did when you added Pyre Keeper? It basically broke the game, creating a weapon that has 5 criticals, because that means every other weapon not having 5 criticals makes it kind of inferior. If you have the option between the medium weapon, fire weapon, or the Pyre Keeper, you're gonna go for the Pyre Keeper because it's got more criticals and it inflicts fire. And like, no one ever is going to go for a normal non-elemental weapon and then enchant it with blazing, because that's just simply not good. And if the progression was fun, then maybe you would make a build about that. But no, people are gonna grind for the new Pyre Keeper so that they don't have to waste time making a build that isn't the absolute best one they could ever do. They're not even gonna go Flame Charm because they don't have a Pyre Keeper. But yeah, that's just an example of how that update had affected the game, adding Pyre Keeper. And I'm gonna kind of wrap up now, but I feel like some other thoughts I have are that adding quality of life updates such as new equipment, and by new equipment I mean, you know, it could be new armors, new whatever, but I also mean like the new lantern thing. And I mean, maybe that's more like on the item category, but like the lantern thing and the new shadow flight thing or whatever, that thing's like, they're not that cool, but they're nice and they're quality, and it feels like they actually thought about it. But the funny thing is, there was a YouTuber named Eclipse who came up with that idea, so it wasn't even their idea. They don't know how to add quality of life updates. Only other people do. It's just suggestions. So, you know, maybe they'll see my video and they'll think about this. But that stuff like that is more appreciated, and it's easier for them to add. Like, if they spent just an entire update, no new legendaries, no new talents, no new blah blah blah, and they just added new equipment, new blah blah blah, which they kind of did this last week. Kind of. They added a new legendary as well. But personally, I just think they should stop adding legendary weapons to the game. I think we're good for now. There have been like so many added that like, it's just weird that there are non-legendary legendaries even in the game anymore, because they're all like, you've got a legendary version of every single weapon that's just better. But yeah, I just think they should focus on polishing the current game more every week, with either fixing things that are broken, balancing things that are broken, or adding new things to help out with making the gameplay more fluid and better in general. But yeah, those are all my main points. Let me know what you think about changing the update thing. Do you feel like you would be like, grr, I don't like this because I don't get my broken new legendary every Friday. I'd get something every 2 weeks. Like, is it too long for you? Honestly, I don't think anyone would be too upset. I just think that it would just be different, and that's okay. And I feel like it would be more exciting because every 2 weeks you'd think, oh, this update's going to be interesting. Like, it could be a new oath this week. But yeah, let me know what you think about changing it to every 2 weeks or more. I feel like 2 weeks is fine, because then they'd get, 8 or 9 days-ish to think through, create, and test. I feel like they don't really test their things very much before they add them. There have been so many things that they dropped that I was just like, how did this get through testing? Like, what even is the stinking trial cutscene that's new doesn't even work properly. It's just, you can't see anything because it's using whatever it's called, filtering enabled or something like that, that basically makes it so things don't render unless you're close to them. And because you're technically not close to them, your camera is, then it doesn't render, so you're just seeing this weird mesh and like nothing else. But anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe, comment below, like the video. I don't know, give me your opinions. I love opinions. I like to know that I'm not the only one, but I also like to know that I'm not the smartest one. And maybe you're smarter. Maybe you're gonna open my mind to realize that they should do updates every single week, even though I feel like there's nothing I can think of that's a good reason to do it. But anyways, I will see you later.